Good morning, everybody. It's Tracy. I'm going to start going over some of the universal laws this morning. Um, I know it's 4th of July, Happy Independence Day, so I know a lot of you are probably out having a party, and that's okay. I have the time to do this today, so I'm going to start it, and you can catch up and leave comments, as you read, as you watch the video. Um, I'll do the next video probably in about a week, so it will give us some time to practice our homework, because there is going to be some homework. So the first law is the law of divine oneness. When we talk about the law of divine oneness, everything is connected. Everything is connected to everything else. The plants, animals, every single human alive is connected to each other. So basically, what we think, what we say, what we do, and what we believe absolutely has a corresponding effect on other people. A corresponding effect to the universe and everybody that's around us. Okay? I know here at Energy Flows, we're always saying that everything is connected. We're all exactly the same. And we 100% are. We all come from the same place. When our physical life ends, we all go back to the same place. If you're familiar with Tracy's article, Angels and Demons, there is no separation. Any separation that there is only because our brains have created it. Okay? Hello, Lisa and Linda. So when we're trying to understand this, and I've kind of got this broken down into a few parts. So the first thing is, like I said, we're all connected. We're all exactly the same. It's only our brains that are different because of our experiences. And you may have the exact same experience as someone else, but your brains are going to process it differently. So if you have one experience and two people experience the exact same thing, one person may have what's called post-traumatic stress disorder from that situation, and the other may not, okay? Because we all process things differently. You hear stories all the time of, kids who grow up in families, and each child has a different memory of childhood. They have a different experience. So one child may believe that everything was great, everything was perfect. Another child may remember that, mom and dad were always fighting, and a third child may not even have any memories at all. Okay? And that's because our brains just process things differently. We choose which memories we're going to hold on to. Generally, I see it as we choose which memories we're going to hold on to, because later in life we're going to need to go back to those memories. So I really feel like if we weren't meant to experience a feeling or an emotion, we're not going to have that memory. Okay. Probably notice, I think most of you here are in the Long Island Psychic Medium page. So you know that page is set up as a place for us to go practice. And you will notice that people will post for a reading and no one will connect for months. The reason why that is the way that page has been set up. Sorry, I lost my signal, had to move. The way that page has been set up by, I'm going to call it, say, the universe, our spirit guides, is that when someone connects for a reading, it's for both the reader and the sitter. In most of my mediumship readings that I connect to on that page, it's generally because I needed to hear that message, or I needed to take that message and be able to correspond it to something else in my life or for a client. Okay? So that's sort of how the law of divine oneness works there. Okay? a lot of times people will get really upset if they're not getting a reading, and we unfortunately don't have control of that. We leave it up to whoever the right medium is going to connect for that person, and it's going to create a connection between the two of them, okay? When we think about the law of divine oneness, one of the things that's been really forefront in learning about this is that how we react to situations affects other people. Our words affect other people. I mean, look at popular culture today. That's very apparent. We tend to fall into a herd sort of mentality, that what one person says, well, that's where we're going to go. Well, I agree with that side, so that's where I'm going to go. I think as humans, our brains and our lower chakras, we need to belong, and we need to be able to find somewhere where we're comfortable. Most people honestly can't function if they don't have a support system, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you've got your herd mentality that goes that way, and you've got your herd mentality that goes that way, and then you've got this third mentality that kind of goes straight up the middle. It's all about belonging, because we're all connected. So we need to have someone who agrees with us, someone who understands us, because if somebody doesn't understand you or agree with you, it can be pretty lonely. So one of the things in the spiritual community, because those of you that know me know that I kind of have issues with the spiritual community at large and the way that they think and the things that they do and how they talk to each other, and I could go on and on about that. That's a whole nother video. You see a lot of people right now that are really angry. You see a lot of people right now that are really lost. And your first reaction when somebody comes at you with anger is always going to be to come back at them with anger. You're feeding that. That's just that's your human reaction. That's your root chakra taking control. Like, I need my safety, I need my security, okay? I saw a post from someone this week, and they were talking about the spiritual community and how it was all darkness when people were disagreeing, and some people were right, and this is how you have to believe, and that's what you have to do, and if you're having this problem, you have to do this. And apparently in this situation, people were like, I'm right, you're wrong, end of story. Well, we all know that that's not true. No one is always right. No one is wrong. We all have our experiences that kind of work into that. So one thing that's really important to remember is when you come across someone who is angry, someone who is really combative, part of the law of divine oneness is change the way that you look at that person, okay? Instead of seeing anger, instead of seeing negativity, instead of seeing darkness, see the fear and see the sense of I don't belong, and see the state of confusion that they're in, okay? One of the most important things about the law of divine oneness is the mirror, okay? We cannot see in someone else what we don't see in ourselves. So if I don't see in myself the fact that I am right for myself and another person is right for themselves, I'm not going to be able to connect with people on a spiritual level and be able to guide them to make their lives better, okay? What's right for me is not right for you. Now, if I were to look at that like I'm right and you're wrong, I want to make sure you know you're wrong, okay? Then I'm not sure what I believe, okay? Good morning, Ruth. Hi, Tony. So how you treat others is directly related to how you feel about yourself, okay? And that is something, this can cause so much confusion for other people. You know, I've always been like, this is just what I believe, and if you guys know, I said it earlier in the week that I'm like an architect, and I'm going to find what's right for me. I 100% know that just because that's what's right for me does not make it right for you, okay? And this brings me to the Akashic Records. I took the Akashic Records classes. I took 3 of them. And they are Linda Howe's Pathway Prayer Process. And my teacher, Patty, I wish everybody had a Patty in their life because Patty is amazing. And I absolutely adore her. And I remember in our first class 2 years ago, after we did an Akashic exercise where we went into our records and we got information and people were sharing, and a couple of people in the class said to the person, you know, you should do this. And Patty stopped us and she said, no. She said, you cannot tell someone what you can do, what they should do. You can absolutely offer your experience, okay? So when you're speaking with someone, and this was big for me because, you know, as someone who is a thinker and is a very logical person and seeks for their truth on a daily basis ad nauseum, you know, you become very secure in what you think is right for another person. But what you think is right may not be right for them, okay? So the Akashic Records, we use the terms I versus you. So let's say, I'm going to give you a couple of examples as to how this works so you can see it, and I want you to feel it because you'll feel the difference in my tone. So let's say you have a depressed friend, and this friend struggles with depression, and they call you up and they tell you, you know, I can't get out of bed in the morning, you know, my body hurts, everything aches, I'm so sad, I don't know what to do. Insert the person who's trying to help, okay? You should get dressed. You should go out. You should read a good book. You should go to church. You should put some makeup on. You'll feel so much better. You should get out of the house. You'll feel so much better. Go to the beach. You'll feel so much better. And here's the thing. People who are depressed have done all those things, and they don't feel better, okay? I have never struggled with depression, but people who are very close to me have struggled with depression, and I've seen them suffer, and I've seen them try everything they can to feel better, and it's heartbreaking when that doesn't work, okay? And it's even more heartbreaking when you hear of a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old who is in so much pain that they take their own life. So depression is absolutely just one of those things where when we give advice, we say, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so now let's try something that's a little bit more empathetic. And this might actually help the person a little bit because it might help get their creative juices flowing. So you have a friend who's very depressed, and they call you and they're very sad, and you know this is your friend and you love them and you want them to be okay. Maybe you've experienced it, or maybe you've touched with depression a tiny little bit, so you know what it's like to wake up and you know, not feel so good, or look in the mirror and just not be happy with what you see, okay? So they tell you how badly they feel, how much pain they're in, you know, they're just so tired. Maybe you could say to them, you know, when I'm not feeling so good, I go find my brightest red lipstick and I put it on, and, you know, it gives me the motivation to kind of maybe do the dishes, okay? You maybe you tell them what works for you when you're having a bad day. When I'm not feeling so good, I like to go sit out in the sun, and it helps me. It helps me even if it's just for a little bit. It helps change my attitude a little bit. It helps me to see things. I'm able to see the birds and see, the wonder of life and the trees. And, well, I'm looking at dead vines outside my window, so maybe that's not a good one for me. But it's different when you can say, I've experienced this. I understand what you're going through. And you're going to get that person who's going to be just like, you don't understand. And that's okay. And you can say, yeah, you know what? I don't 100% understand. But maybe you can empathize with them, okay? When you're coming at it from an empathic standpoint, and you're just kind of offering suggestions about what works for you, it comes across as much more caring and supporting, and it helps them. Like, well, maybe they know that they don't wear lipstick, but maybe the next time they go to Rite Aid, they grab a colored lip gloss, and so it's little things like that, okay? And this goes with so many things. Somebody comes to you for advice about something, and the first reaction is, their husband is cheating on them. They come to you for advice. So your first reaction is, you should leave him, kick him out, take all his money. That's what you should do. Well, what would you do? How would you feel if that was you? I think people who are in marriages are not in marriages just because it was something to do. They're in marriages because they love somebody. And I'm not saying that, if somebody's repeatedly cheating on you, you should just ignore it and get over it. But imagine how you would feel if that was you. So pull your empathy in, because we're all connected. And you're able to connect to that person and feel what they're feeling in a way. Okay? So try to use I understand how you feel. If that happened to me, I wouldn't know what to do. I would be really confused, and just let them know that you're there for them. Okay? And this is like everything. There's so many things that this relates to. So, always remember that how we react causes a reaction in others. Also how we don't react. Sometimes, we get to that point in our development where if somebody's screaming and yelling at us, we're just kind of looking at it like, that is not my circus, those are not my monkeys. And when we're not reacting, people are so used to getting a reaction from someone when they do things like that they don't know what to do, and it almost sends them into a more passive-aggressive mode. If I'm having a conversation with someone and they're telling me all of these things and I don't agree, and I'm telling them I don't agree, it almost sends them into attack mode. In one of the groups that I'm in, I forget what the situation was, but I just remember throughout the course of a weekend, this woman and I were having this intelligent conversation. She believed in one thing and I didn't believe it, and I just kind of was like, I don't believe that that's true. I believe A, B, and C. The original post asked for opinions. I was giving my opinion, and within 8 hours she was telling me I was a demon. So I was just being attacked just for stating my opinion. So you can see where you don't have a reaction and somebody's not getting a rise out of you, that passive aggressiveness is going to come full force. And it depends on where they are on their path, and it's not their fault. It's just their journey. It's what they've got to go through. Whether or not they learn that with you or with someone else 5 years from now, that's up to the universe, okay? And that's up to them. So at first, sometimes this can cause a stronger reaction. One thing that's also really important to remember here is when someone does something to you, or they disappoint you, or you're upset with somebody. When you say to them, you did this, you made me feel like that, you're throwing your emotions and you're throwing your reactions onto them. And that's not fair. It's different if you were to say, I didn't know where you were, I was worried, I started to panic. You're taking control of your own emotions, and you're telling them how they made you feel. Okay? Without saying, you did this, you did that, I know you were doing this instead of what you said you were supposed to be doing. So instead of blaming, just accept the fact that something happened, there was a disagreement, there was an argument, there was a fight, and it made you feel something. Okay? So our homework for this section is going to be using I instead of you. Okay, throughout the next week, maybe tomorrow, maybe today. I don't know, a lot of families are probably going to be getting together today, so there might be some disagreements. So use I instead of you. State how you feel instead of what a person did to you. Because you don't know what their motives were, you don't know their experience, you don't know where they come from, okay? So only speak for you. When we do that, when you're only speaking for you, and you're letting other people know how you feel about a situation, you're not asking someone to change what they did, you're not asking them to change what they want to do. You're basically only just asking them to understand where you're coming from. So essentially what the Divine Law of Oneness does, and practicing it does, is it opens up a lot of your empathic field. Because while you're doing it for yourself and you're asking other people to understand how you feel, you're automatically going to look past someone's words and see how they feel. And see the pain and see the hurt maybe that they're experiencing at that point. One of the things that's really, really important about this is just seeing that we're all doing the best that we can, okay? And maybe it's just you that's practicing this, but the way that you react and you respond to other people, it causes a community change, it causes a household change, it causes a state change, it kind of grows forward. I think at this point in time, we all need to have a little bit more empathy towards each other, and understand that nobody's right and nobody's wrong, okay? You can't fault someone else for their own moral beliefs. They have them for a reason. For whatever experiences that they went through. It doesn't mean you need to agree with them. It doesn't mean you need to condone what they've done and say, well, it's okay, they had a bad childhood or whatever. But state your mission and your purpose and how you feel about the situation, and don't point fingers, okay? I've always been one, who is having fingers pointed at, and it's like, you're totally misunderstanding me. I'm just the misunderstood redhead. But it's okay. It's mine. I signed up for it. I'm here. So you may get misunderstood, and that's okay, because you know what your true intent is. I think that's pretty much it for the Law of Divine Oneness. If anything else pops into my brain, because my brain doesn't always shut off, I'll absolutely add it to the comment section. So remember, your homework, and it's not really your homework, I mean, you don't have to do it, but I have a feeling that you will try it, because you'll think of this video and you'll remember, oh, I don't want to state you, I want to state I, because that's a little bit more compassionate and empathic. So use I instead of you when you're having discussions with people, or you're disagreeing with someone, or somebody comes to you for advice. You don't want to tell someone what to do. you want to give them examples of things that have worked for you, or things that you know that have worked for people that you know in the same situation. You know, because we never hear about a situation and we don't know anybody that's gone through it. You know, we always know someone who's experienced something. You know, so use that, you know, say, you know, I know someone who went through that, and, you know, what they tried was A, B, or C, and, you know, I went through that, and I like to try this, you know. So just open up that empathy a little bit, and just recognize that we're all connected. You know, we're all 100% going to the same place, come from the same place, you know, regardless of your religious background, regardless of what your political background is, regardless of what, you know, how you grew up, we're all exactly the same. There's nothing that separates us other than our brains. And our brains lie to us, okay? Because we're only seeing our own reality, okay? And I'm not asking you to change anything about how you do anything other than turn it inwards instead of pushing it outwards, if that makes sense. Okay? Hi, Sherry. I'm going to end the video now, so it will go off for a little while, but in a few minutes you should be able to restart it. And absolutely, if you have a question, anything comes up, tag me, send me a message. You know, if you don't want to broadcast it, I have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm doing this. Okay, ladies. Enjoy your 4th, and be safe. I know here in Massachusetts, I don't know, it's already like 90 billion degrees, probably about 82. So I'm going to head in the house where the air conditioner is and cool off, and go hang out for a bit and read a book. Read a book. Good times. All right, guys. Love ya.